DIYers, welcome in, welcome in. I have a very, very special guest that is a continuation of a conversation that we started not too long ago. I shouldn't say we started, but we reacted to, I should say. And it's a conversation that I think is gaining a lot of steam. And not only do I have someone here who is a legend in his own right, but he's also someone who has been putting in the footwork to make sure that hip-hop at least gets brought up in terms of the conversation when it comes to award shows, when it comes to just different platforms we're going to talk about. And there's a very specific separation from, as the video we reacted to with Punch, between an Ice Spice and a Jay-Z, or more specifically, an adult contemporary genre. With that said, I'm about to bring in my guest right here. I really appreciate y'all being here. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome in Olskool Ice-Grē. How you doing, sir?
Yo, what's going on?
Man. It is an absolute honor to have you here. You know, we had the opportunity to chop it up a few different times over the last month. I mean, it's crazy to believe it. It's almost been a month since that video, the reaction dropped. And, you know, in the midst of another video. So I basically clipped a video from the first time we had this conversation about whether or not hip-hop needs an adult rap genre. We reacted to this interview that Punch had on a podcast. He was making some really valid points about why do we just jumble everything in the same category. And I snipped it up and I put it up on my Instagram, and that post went crazy. It's probably one of my most viral videos as of late, because a lot of people are either completely with it or they're in opposition of this idea of separating hip-hop, or excuse me, rap music, I should say, by age, by different types of separations. The interesting thing, though, is by this thing picking up momentum, a gentleman came into my comments and I said, wait a minute, hold on, let me do some research. This, my friends, is Olskool Ice-Grē. Now, let me give you a little bit of an introduction, and we're going to talk to him directly today. We're thrilled to be joined by Olskool Ice-Grē, a visionary in hip-hop and a force in the world of entrepreneurship and literature. As a founding member of Chicago's iconic rap group Abstract Mindstate, he helped craft a legacy of impactful music that resonates to this day. Olskool Ice-Gré's influence extends far beyond music. He's also a successful author and entrepreneur, dedicated to empowering others through his work. As Kanye West, as we're going to talk about here in a second, once said, Olskool Ice-Grē is the most upstanding human being that I know. He represents the pinnacle of good character. If everyone in the world had Greg's character, we would have world peace. That is a very Kanye-ish quote. With such high praise, it's clear that Olskool Ice-Gré's contributions are invaluable, both to the culture and the community. Oh my goodness. I am very honored to have you here. First and foremost, how are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. How you doing, bro?
You know, I'm excited, man. I'm excited about a few different things. People who, shout out to my moderators coming in here and all the folks wondering why I'm wearing so much beige. I got a project coming out this Friday called Beige, the Beige EP. And so I can't.
Shout out to the Beige EP. You know what I'm saying? Go get that when, you know what I'm saying?
Come on. I appreciate that. And so I you know, we were scheduled for a little bit of an earlier time, and I had just been getting ahead of myself. But even with all that said, I thank you for carving out some time, because I know your schedule is really crazy right now. But man, could you tell the people from your own point of view and you know, sort of a bit of your origin story, and then let's get right into this conversation that I think a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah, man. I first let them know why Olskool denotes my my moniker, you know, Olskool Ice-Grē. First of all, you know, I'm from an era that you know, I'm an 80s baby, you know what I'm saying? Because I was born in the 70s but grew up in the 80s, so, and therefore we call ourselves 80s baby. But that connected me directly to 90s golden era hip hop, when hip hop really started to see a shine. And doing that during the latter parts of the 90s, like, well, no, it wasn't even latter, maybe mid, like we talking 93, 94. The term old school took on a negative connotation because the artists that were getting down and laying the foundation for what we now love and enjoy, um, they felt that old school, when people called them old school, they like, man, we just really started this thing. They took offense to it. So you know how I guess I say in the spirit of trying to turn, not trying, excuse that word, in the spirit of turning a negative into a positive, I added old school. My name was always Icegree. That was my stage name, my rap name, all that. And I added old school to it. And at the time when I added it, I was probably about 19 years old. You know what I'm saying? And it just became a thing. And it's what's funny about Olskool Ice-Grē, when I introduce myself as old school, nobody ever forgets it. They like, man, first of all, they always say, I like that name. All of my notable associates and friends in the game, as well as people I just meet on the handshake. They like, I like that old school, and I always get the famous joke from like more established individuals. They'll be like, man, how you call? I'm old school, somebody like Jimmy Jam. I'm sorry, I met Jimmy Jam, and he's a good guy. He loves the group. He loves Abstract Mindstate, and I told him my name was Old School. He like, old school, like, how you old school? I'm old school, and stuff like that. But man, my story is basically, I'm a guy who never wanted to steal from the culture, only wanted to add. I wanted to add something special to the culture. I put this thing on my back. I fell in love with hip hop, like we've heard in so many songs. And it's something that it's been hard for me to break up with. And my story is basically, I'm one of the guys in a group that was one of the most, I guess you could say, dynamic and talked about groups in my city of Chicago during Abstract Mindstate's era. The name of my group is Abstract Mindstate. During that era, we were the most dynamic group. And it was because we were an underground hip hop group that knew how to make songs that got love on the radio. So we were we were the only group that was looked at as super duper backpack, but got regular play on our main radio station.
Nice.
So that kind of put us in an interesting space, and it made the city know us fast, and regionally we were known fast, and bottom line is, I carried that over to the business, and then I took on a job at Loud Records, and worked some classic projects at Loud under the tutelage of the head of publicity at that time. Her name was Noah Ochi, and under Steve Rifkin's guidance. And I learned a lot at Loud. It took what I was doing in college and all of the things, the marketing things I had in my mind, and I was able to apply and learn and apply, vice versa, and just really take it to another level. And then I went back home and I really started getting into putting all these things behind my own group. And that's how we pushed forward and kind of stepped ahead of a lot of people, so to speak, really fast, because I had the codes, I had the tools, I had information that nobody else had. And that information and knowing those things led a very hungry producer that was trying to prove to the world he was a rapper. It led that energy that I was putting out there, led him to me. One thing led to another, excuse me, and I became the very first A&R of Good Music. Wow. I was assigned to Big Sean. I like the proud. It's like a proud brag. I always say I was the one that coerced Sean into recording My Last. That was the song that put him on the map, made a name for him, and made him, and I literally said that. I told him this: if Sean trusts me, record this song, it's gonna make you a household name. You're gonna go #1 on Billboard, and it's gonna be a platinum song. And it did all of that. It was produced by No ID. No ID was like, you the A&R, Old School. What's up? I got. He had 3 tracks, and he asked me to, since I'm the A&R, pick the track. And I chose that track, and it's a whole story behind how funny it was, because I act so crazy about, you have to record this. I was like doing some Tom Cruise jumping up and down on the couch, like you watched the movie Show Me the. I was acting crazy.
Right, when he played the Asian, right.
Yeah, you know the movie with him and the movie.
Cuba Gooding Jr. It's escaping me too, but I know exactly what.
Yeah, Show Me the Money.
Who's going with me? Who's going with me?
With Cuba Gooding was his manager or whatever. But anyway, the point is, Cuba Gooding was the guy, I think. But anyway, the point is, that led me, you know, back and forth, and I ebbed and flowed between business and artists. And I was behind the scenes for 16 years up until 2021. And Kanye at the time where we were working on just some new music, and it was before we were going into the recording process of that's known now as the Wyoming sessions. He came up with a bright idea. He said, man, the world needs to hear Abstract Mindstate again. I want to put y'all out. And I thought he was like, you know, losing his mind and tripping out, because I was like, man, I haven't done this in 16 years, you know. Now mind you, I have been writing. I've been creative with him and several projects around him. So I never lost the pen, and I kept doing that. But as an artist, it wasn't about me, you know, and I was fine with that. I was fine, you know, catching my check behind the scenes and doing what I do, contributing to other creatives. And he was like, nah, man, you know, we the elders, we gotta guide these kids. We gotta teach the kids. And Abstract Mindstate was always about that. Y'all music is necessary right now. And let's just say I had to think about that for a while. And then I brought it to my partner, who didn't believe me the same way I didn't believe Kanye at the time. And once I convinced her the way he convinced me that it's a real thing and he's not joking, and I convinced her I'm not joking, she flew out, we sat with him, and that led to us becoming the very first artist on a platform he had created at the time called Yeezy Sound. Y'all remember Yeezy Sound?
Yeah.
We were the first, and unfortunately, we were the only artist to come out. And I say unfortunately because the roster, if you Google Yeezy Sound roster right now, you will see when Kanye tweeted that out. And Abstract Mindstate is at the top. But under us were, on that same piece of paper that he wrote it out, was Tony Williams, the Clips, because they were going to get back together for that Yeezy Sound release. Actually, his daughter North was on there, and so was who else was on there? And there was a couple of them. Saha the Prince was on there, as well as it was one more person I can't think of. But the point is, unfortunately, we were the only ones that came out, and we also can proudly say we're the only ones to have a album completely 100% produced by Kanye without any producers or production. No album exists in the market like that, not even any of his.
Straight off the MPC, I'm assuming. Just straight off the MPC.
Actually, ASR.
ASR. Okay, the ASR. That's right.
ASR. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I was why. You know, we were all, you know, would be just sitting there in a room, and what I like to, the only thing I can call it in Wyoming was a cabin mansion. It was like, because it was built like a cabin, but it was literally a mansion. Like, it was huge with several rooms, but you know, but it was like wood and glass and in the middle of like nowhere.
That's like, that's a different kind of money right there. That's a different kind of money. When you can make something like that look like how you describe it, that's a different kind of money, man. Look.
It's always been in that different kind of money category. So I'll be lying in front if I didn't say, through his dreams coming true, I've got to experience some really hard to talk about things because they sound fake. So I just only talk about them to the people who were there, or you know what I mean? Because it sounds like I'm lying, so I just don't talk about it, you know.
Man, and it was interesting too, because you know, as we started to kind of chop it up, and you kind of gave me some references and things that I should go read. Like I read the articles that you had, I believe it was a Rolling Stone article that you had in there, and then I started seeing like other reputables, especially on your website, like Common, you know, had nothing but glowing reviews of you, David Banner, and so whenever you have somebody like that, to me, I always look at individuals like you, and I say this respectfully, though, you more dangerous than the ones who got the name. The ones who got the name are in plain sight. I feel like it's individuals like you that are, you know, the nucleus, the core to a lot of the success, because you already know these are people who are products of team efforts. So if they're all saying the same thing, and then we finally had a conversation. And before I want to get into the details of that and get in the weeds with you about this topic, I want to play this video, if that's cool. And I want to react to it with you, because this is a thing that brought our worlds together. You know, some people are probably asking, how does this even happen? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this here on the screen. Let me go ahead and put this on the screen. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get to this video, and let me stop it right here. All right. So as I said before, there was a video in which I talked about this interview that I saw that a music manager, Punch, had on a podcast, and he was asking the question, or really echoing a question that a lot of people have been asking about whether or not hip hop should have an adult genre, separating itself from the younger artists and the older artists, just like a lot of genres. So I'm gonna play this video, and then we're gonna talk today about why it's so significant that we got my man's here. So let me go ahead and play this. He's separating music that is made by refresh rate. Be separating music that is made by older rappers and call it like adult contemporary like other genres do, and then separate it from the younger artists.
Why is it that our genre of hip hop continues to underserve our own music? Like how there's a soft rock, hard rock, alternative rock. Why does that have so many sections and our genre doesn't? Why is Nas on the same chart as 310 Baby? 310 Baby graduated high school yesterday.
Sheesh.
Left, right, baby, let's do it. Yeah. How the fuck is he on the same chart that if Too Short dropped tomorrow, Too Short has to compete with a kid who just finished chemistry homework?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Cause y'all all just niggas that rap. Feel like Uncle Ruckus. Y'all all just rap. Ain't y'all all just rapping? All of y'all is the same shit. That's the energy we're talking about. That's the way they view it. I'm joking, but that's the way they view it. Can we stop saying a 45, 50-year-old rapper fell off because they can't compete in the same genre in which the demographics skew so differently? Will we view it differently if they were number one in their category? I think we would. I think we'd have a lot more respect in general about the way that we talk about their numbers.
If Jay-Z drops tomorrow, Jay-Z should not be competing with Ice Spice.
So here I was thinking I'm having a very original thought, right? Here I was thinking I'm having a very original thought. Little did I know, there is a gentleman out here named Olskool Ice-Grē who was already putting in the footwork. And, you know, after I saw this post, I saw Ninth Wonder talk about it. I saw MC Lyte talk about it. And, man, it was unfortunate because we talked about this and we're going to talk about it today. It was unfortunate because I feel like once I got to understand all the work that you've been doing for how long now have you been doing the work that you've been doing?
It's 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. I've been literally doing the leg work, but
wow,
I've been waving the flag for something I call ACH for over 20 years.
That's wild. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I love having a platform because, you know, the obvious answer for some people would be like, let's just go see if we can reach out to Ninth Wonder. No. I want to, with respect to the OG, and I've met him, and he's worked with a lot of mutuals, but I want to talk to the individual who has had this on your mind for 20 years, and you put in the work to where you've gotten, you know, even to where you're presenting in front of the Grammy board. So, but before we even get into all of those details, can you kind of explain, I guess, what first sparked this idea? Yeah. And, you know, some of the groundwork that you've been able to do on it.
Right. So as I was saying to you about the album that Kanye self-produced in 2021 called Dream Still Inspired, which got wonderful reviews, you know, and got covered in some of the best magazines, which you can see on abstractmindstate.com. But what started everything, man, was when that album because I was aware, like, hey, we're coming back after 16 years and putting out a record. I started talking that adult contemporary hip hop talk again, you know, now, because I'm like, here we are doing music again. The last time we did music, you know, that was 16 years ago. And I say I've been talking about it for over 20 years because the last thing we put out was 16 years ago, but it was 20-some years, you know, worth of music. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the point is, I was saying, man, it's time to like brand that thing. Like, I want our sound, which is honestly just traditional hip hop. It's that we choose the soulful boom bap because, you know, in hip hop, there are various ways you can go. You can go hardcore street with it. You can go boom bap with it. You can go just be a story. You can be a storyteller. You can go nonfiction with it. You can go fiction with it. You know, but my point is, it's still it's usually supported by that traditional boom bap sound. You know what I'm saying? And so what ended up happening was since I knew we were coming out, I really started waving the flag, like, as I'm building up to, because we realized the album came out in 2021, but we had been working on that album since 2019. So I'm already like, yeah, I'm about to make this adult contemporary hip hop a real thing. But I didn't, to be honest, Curtis, I didn't know what that meant. Like, how do I make this a real thing?
Right.
I was saying it, I believed in it, but I didn't know, like, what does that look like? What does the steps entail to make an entirely expanded, is what I like to use. You're going to hear me keep stressing that word,
Right.
an expanded genre, a real thing. And that's when I just happened to holler at my buddy, 3-time Grammy Award winning spoken word poet Jay Ivy.
Man, the GOAT. One of the greatest. One of the greatest.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I had to salute his accolades, because Jay Ivy, he'll tell you, when he gets on your show, he'll tell you, I had this thing for years. I call him the most relevant spoken word artist in the game. And he always laughed at it, and he took it as a compliment, but was like, man, that's saying a lot, old school. That's a lot, Icegree. And I'm like, yeah, but you make spoken word matter, and it comes off different than, the whole finger snapping. How much of that can we listen to? Jay Ivy puts together 4 projects, and I edify and salute him, because he was the one that told me. He said, man, you just have to write it. He's on the Grammy board at the time I'm telling him this, and I think he still is. And he said, man, you just have to write a proposal. I said, write a proposal? Yeah, to the Recording Academy. He said, aren't you because he knew I was like a member of the Academy before everybody I knew, right? We talking 15 years ago. And he said, you a member, right? I said, no, that expired some years ago for me. He said, okay, well, first you need to re-up your membership. And then he said, no, you write a proposal, man. And he said, as a matter of fact, I'm writing my proposal. I wrote my proposal now to separate spoken word from the audiobook category.
Wait a minute. So those were combined at one time? Audiobook and spoken word were combined?
See, you know what's dope about you asking that? That's great, because that shows the importance of that happening. It happens. It makes so much sense that you never thought it wasn't like that, right?
Like, why would you? And it's the same question I'm asking about what we're talking about now. Is that why would you put these things in the same category when they've obviously been, like, the ingredients are not the same, and that's done purposely?
Exactly. So watch this. The first year, Jay Ivy lost against what's my guy? He's an actor. I love this dude. Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle, yeah. Shout out to Don Cheadle. Yeah.
Shout out to Don Cheadle. Such an amazing actor, right? I fell in love with Don Cheadle's work, his art, when I saw him as Mouse in the Denzel movie. I forget the name of it. That's slipping my mind. He was Denzel's sidekick and main man, and he just killed people. Like, if you left him alone too long, he gonna kill somebody. but Mouse was hilarious. His character was hilarious. But anyway, Jay Ivy lost against Don Cheadle because spoken word and audiobooks were in the same category. See, I can say that now. He lost against Don Cheadle because it was in the same category. Somebody would have said, well, how do you know? Well, because once it was separated and Jay Ivy submitted the proposal and they separated and let spoken word have its own space, so audiobooks, so he wouldn't be overshadowed by the Don Cheadles and the what's our girl name, the poet? She's like a legend. Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou and several greats was just grossly overshadowing Jay Ivy. Their audiobooks were. You get what I'm saying?
And it seems to be over. Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but I was going to say it seems to be.
No, please go.
Because I'm learning. I'm learning in real time with a lot of what you've already done. But it's the thing about it is that it's not, for me, how I view it. It's not so much just the domination of their popularity. It's the domination of, these are two completely different positions. For instance, I use sports analogies all the time. You wouldn't ask the question, who's a better player, Shaquille O'Neal versus, let's say, Michael Jordan. Those are two completely different positions, right? Yes. Michael Jordan could never be the best center of all time. Same way that Shaq could never be the best shooting guard. But nobody looks at that and says, and I want to talk about that a little bit too. Some of the fight back that I'm seeing to this idea of splitting hip hop this way is that, or if you can't compete, then what are you even showing up for? What are you trying to rap for? Rap is a competitive sport, and all of these, kind of people who are saying things.
Right.
And I actually have a clip after I hear your answer on this from DJ Head, where he kind of speaking some opposition to it, and I just kind of want to get your live reaction to it. But with that said, kind of how do you respond to that end of things when people are kind of bringing up that with the way it's at the end of the day, we all in the same boat, and let's
if it's rap, it's rap.
It's rap, exactly.
You be able to stand your ground. If blah blah blah, and you know what? That's not reality. And what we have to do, why I know I have a stance and purpose for adult contemporary hip hop, is simply this: things evolve, right? It was a point in time where we'll say the traditional rap artists just could not stand what was going on with the kids right now.
Yeah.
It was a whole lot of hate. It was so much hate to the point that it became separation. And it was like, it was kind of like F the old rappers. That's what they was calling us, old rappers. Like F them old rappers. It's just, we young.
That was a nasty time. It was a nasty time in here. Yeah.
Man, Curtis, all the way up until hip hop 50th, and shout out to just hip hop growing up and becoming an adult finally at 50 years old, because when the hip hop 50 hit, all of the ageism seemed to it's not complete, but it's dissipated a lot. Like you notice that's not the conversation anymore. That it's not about this. Now when we talk about adult contemporary hip hop, it started making some people shake and bring the age thing up. And that's where I come in to clarify that it's not ACH, is adult contemporary hip hop is not about age, it's about the sound. So, and in the spirit of what Punch was saying, man, the rappers that's popular now with the sound of what they're classifying as rap hip hop, it's dominating that chart space. So I'm just saying, let's expand this thing and make room for the traditional sound, because not only are there a gang of new artists that choose a more traditional sound of rap, but definitely our legends who are putting out so much quality new music. And then even some of the ones that haven't made it to legendary or iconic status, but they're killing it with consistency right now. Because you got to think about it, Curtis, people like J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, when he's just rapping, that's adult contemporary hip hop. That's not.
Well, I don't know about Drake, but continue. I don't know about Drake, but continue, because it seems like his focus is the younger. He would have some that crossover for sure, but it seems like not even trying to be funny, because I know my audience, they know how much we made content about this whole back and forth. But with him in particular, I see him as somebody that purposely skews or purposely focuses in on a very specific younger demographic, so that
definitely, without a doubt.
So you can just kind of he keeps recycling that.
No, without a doubt.
But to your point, with Kendrick and J. Cole, to me, one of the most discouraging things, right? And I'm 39, I'll be 40, top of the year next year. The most discouraging thing at this age is to see artists that feel the need to have to create a sound that they're detached from so that they can be in the conversation. And I thought what's so brilliant about this idea of the adult contemporary hip hop is that it now gives, in the same way that I look at almost sort of Big Three, the Big Three with Ice Cube and his league. What I love about watching them highlights is that I'm seeing basketball players that might have given up, going to podcasts and going to media, and they're competing at a high level because now there's an incentive. People are watching. They got major sponsorships. There's opportunity to make money that the NBA is not going to supply. They're on TV again. Maybe there's sponsorships in the next coming years for that. But I look at that and I'm saying, I think that something happened after the pandemic. A lot of things happened after the pandemic. But I feel like after the pandemic, a lot of these conversations about, this thing being elite to the other thing kind of got leveled out because we were all in the same playing field. I think age might have been one of those conversations. And also, for the first time, we're seeing a lot of artists who are kind of defying, and it's not just artists. I look at LeBron James. He's kind of defying the norms of what you expect from a basketball player at 39. So I think there's just the time is asking for it. So Let me ask you this then, because I want to get to this clip of DJ here. It pissed me off, Icegree, after you told me your story, and I felt like we have so much overlappage in that seeing, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but seeing the conversation get hijacked and you not being included in it.
Yeah.
And you told, how did you kind of like, what was kind of your initial reaction to seeing this picking up all the steam?
Right, to seeing the conversation. I'm like, whoa, I'm like, wait a minute. Y'all, I was talking about this, literally did the work, wrote the proposal, submitted to the Grammys, went through the steps, blah, 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 took it to another award show, got it accepted as a category, blah, blah, blah. And now people are finally talking about it, like after the actual work was done. And the way I look at it is, I look at it the same way I look at hip hop. You know how people will say, man, this hip hop music is terrible. And then we always say, no, it's some artists out here that's doing that and this and that. And it's just, you have to, you have to look to see them or go seek it and you'll find it type of thing. Well, I looked at it like, because I didn't have a voice like, or tenure out front now, like a Knife Wonder, out front with the legacy of an MC Light or the MC Light, or even when Raheem Devon posted under MC Light's second post about her asking, what can we call a genre, blah, blah, blah. And he said AC hip hop, he posted that. And I started adding him and hitting him as well, because I'm trying to, my goal is unification, not division in terms of everybody with like minds about this whole adult contemporary hip hop thing. I said, okay, I don't have the voice that they have. And it took my cousin to talk to me and say, hey man, you got to get in front of your own, this is your creation. This is your thing. You got to get in front of it and speak about it, PR yourself, get some, I know, PR can get crazy, but reach out to the people that, and I thought about it. I said, man, there's several people who interview Abstract Mindstate. Let me start reaching back and seeing if I can, because what's funny is a lot of the people who podcasts and interviews we did, I always talked about ACH. See, that's what makes me solid. Because if you go back to any of those stories that's on our website on abstractmindstate.com, look at the the press link. We talk about ACH in every single one, and that was in 2021. They're just talking about it now in 2023, the latter part of 2023, and it's become such a hot button topic that I felt it was necessary that I plant my flag and let it be known that I'm out here. Hey guys, I did the work. Facts. I did the heavy lifting. I wrote the proposal. I submitted it to the Grammys. They considered it heavy, but still turned it down. Hey, another award show called the Hollywood Independent Music Awards. They grabbed it. They thought it was a great idea. I've given away 2 awards for the last, from 2023 to 2024. Like, and what award show would you see somebody like Rock Marciano and Alchemist for an album called The Elephant Man Bones to get an award? And I gave them an award last year.
And this is my point. What you're saying right now is exactly the point that I want to drive home, is that it's unfortunate that we live in the time that we live in sometimes, because I feel like a lot of music is just, when you categorize it as being underground or independent music, people immediately kind of want to discard it mentally. Like it's not a part of the real conversation. Like it's a minor league versus major league thing, unless they're tapped in and they understand. You think about these names, these are some of the greatest at their skill set, the greatest MCs, the greatest producers, the greatest lyricists.
Yes.
And the fact that you have them sitting in the same category as somebody who will admittedly say on camera, I don't plan to be here long. I'm here for some money, and then I'm probably gonna get into acting or some gaming. It just feels like it is so unfair.
And here these people are, man, that already put in their 10,000 hours and proved that they can last longer than a summer or 2. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so my thing is just about coexisting, man. Like, my thing is this: if they have a category at every award show and they're going to use the term rap hip hop, but the only people they have in it is like the Ice Spices, the Young Thugs, the Gunners, and all of this stuff. Okay, what I'm saying to that is, okay, fine. Times have changed. Rap or what the music that they call rap and hip hop now has evolved into this. Everything is algorithm and popularity and social media. What I'm saying is, okay, I'm not even fighting you on that. Let that thing be. But how about let's expand it so we can let in these other hard workers who include legends, icons, traditional hip hop makers from people who make traditional hip hop aging from whatever teen, 16, 15, all the way up to, 20, 30 something years old. And then our icons and legends we know are in the 40s, 50s. And if they super lucky, we're not lucky, nothing is luck. If they're super blessed, 60s, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I tell you this, LL Cool J right now sound better than everything I'm hearing out here. Like I'm trying to figure out how he's still so dope.
You know what's
today.
interesting?
It's mind blowing. Like I was the biggest LL fan. He was definitely one of my one of the ones I saluted and looked up to coming up. And I listened to that Saturday night special as well as that Passion joint.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, oh, L is causing a problem out here.
Well, I did a reaction clip last week, and that's gonna be dropping actually this week, edited. But he's talking on an interview with Ray Daniels about he had to basically go back to school. He said he had to reteach himself how to rap because even in his particular niche that he is a pioneer in, that has evolved.
Look, so even the thing he created,
has evolved, right? So while he was doing the acting and he was out here being being a superstar in every right, being multifaceted. There's somebody who was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take Mama Said Knock You Out, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take this to a 2000s type of energy."
Exactly.
I've even heard people make the comparisons of like 50 Cent being a part of that evolution, right? Because him centering himself kind of as a sex symbol and wanting to be these Nelly, kind of things, Nelly and all these. So these are all off the branch of an LL Cool J. With that said, though, you made an interesting point about how some of the younger artists, they're put in the same category. What I find interesting is that some of these artists will even rebel against the idea of what they do being hip hop or even rap. I remember Lil Uzi Vert in the interview. He said, I'm a rock star. He told Ebro, he said, I'm a rock star. I'm not, I'm not giving you 16, but I don't rap. So my thing is, even the youth are asking for this.
Yes.
Why not give them?
I'm like trying to satisfy, excuse me, I said trying again. My goal is to satisfy, that space. Because that space is so wide open, Curtis. Like you definitely made an amazing point. They'd be like, I'm a rock star. And some of them just proudly say, no, I do more like a pop rap style. I'm not hip hop.
They're telling you.
They know what hip hop is. So my thing is, and here's the thing, I'm gonna take it away from all the audiences. Of all of the artists. I'm gonna take it away from all the artists. And I'm gonna say, if the corporate entity behind this thing that we created and love, this culture we made, if the corporate entity of it has distorted it so much that they calling all of this popular music now and they just want to stuff it all into the rap hip hop category, I blame it on them. But that's why I'm trying to go, that's why I'm proposing to the corporate spaces this new thing, this new genre, this expanded genre, so it can leave room, because they leaving a lot and they don't care about anything but money. And I'm gonna be honest, they leaving a whole lot of money on the table. Well, not you know what I'm saying? Not messing with adult contemporary hip hop. They leaving a lot of money on the table.
And we know that, especially when it comes to the industry, that they let their decision making be ran by where the dollar is at.
Yeah, well, and that's not what this music is about. It's not dollar.
It's not.
The spirit in which this music is made is not money driven. It's definitely part of like who you are and the love for the art and all of this. A lot to calling yourself hip hop, and it has little to do with money. But now America has made it into a corporate entity. So I'm saying, okay, Mr. America, if it's a corporate entity at this point, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, because it's a whole bunch of talented people who still create this music the traditional way that doesn't sound old. There's nothing old or old school about it. Like I heard Light say that there's nothing old school about what we're doing. And it's not old school. It sounds fresh and new. It's done by seasoned, respectable either they're a veteran or icon doing it, or they're a young artist who got impressed by a traditional sound. So we got a Corday, we got Joey Badass, we got Denzel Curry, you know what I'm saying? We got Tierra Whack, we got Lady London, we got, you know, the list go. I can just keep running them off.
Yeah, because they're out there.
Got those people because they prefer the boom bap. They prefer a traditional sound. They don't really want to do the, you know, whatever, whether it's trap or dance or whatever it is. They don't want to do that. They want to do the sound. You know,
I was gonna say, and it's funny because a couple weeks ago, I have an interview coming up with Young MC, and
shout out to Young MC,
right?
That's legend.
And just talking to him on the phone, I'm like, this don't sound like somebody who's anywhere close to retirement. No, you know, he did bust a move. Like, he don't sound nowhere close. He sounds like he revving up for the next era in his career. And I'm like, rightfully so. There's other genres that get to enjoy this. The Rolling Stones, the bands and other genres get this, and they get arena tours that come along with it. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, even for the industry standards alone, if their standards are what makes money, like you said, they're going against their own.
They're going against their own thing. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. If you now, you know, we're speaking third person, like,
of course,
since this is your thing,
right?
If this is your thing and it makes money, you're leaving billions of dollars on the table.
Facts.
Because you're alienating a sound that's still loved worldwide. And I can say that at this point in my life now, because I just got off a European tour with my group Abstract Mindstate as the official opening act for Slum Village.
Nice.
And I went around, I did Europe. We did 28 days in a different place every day.
Wow.
They love traditional hip hop.
That part.
That's in Europe. I heard the same thing is going on in Asia.
Yeah.
It's definitely going on in the UK because the UK was part of our run out there in Europe. I heard it's out in Africa. They love the traditional hip hop sound. So it's kind of like, man, it's a lot of, you know, because they're the corporate entity behind everything is so caught up in the now that they're forgetting that even when you say now, that does include this. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and you see hints of it even in the Olympics with the breakdancing competition being in there, and of course it happens when it's not in the U.S. And then we got the Olympics coming to L.A. next. They said that the competition's not going to return.
They're not doing it anymore. They're not going to do it.
So then exactly. This leads me to my question. Before I get to this, because I want to show you this DJ Head video where he kind of represents, I think, a lot of the perspective people who are opposing this idea, and I think it has more so to do with the whole age criteria. But before we get into that, I guess my biggest question is, with all the footwork that you've been doing, what has been sort of the biggest obstacle in getting this accomplished? You talked about how the Grammys, you know, decided not to kind of move forward with that, but you've been able to have a lot of success in other award shows and whatnot. What do you think has been the biggest obstacle in terms of making this this thing go underway?
Yeah, breaking it through. The biggest obstacle is exactly what you're allowing me to do right now, getting the information out. And that's you know, the platforms of getting loud and you know, planting the flag for ACH. And that's why my goal is to unite the like minds and the voices who have already spoke on this, because they already showing that they're passionate. And just like I was the first one to actually, the first and actually only one to actually put work behind the idea, I'm stepping out again as the first one to say, hey, okay, this is not a fashion show where I'm trying to just dance around and say, hey, Olskool Ice-Grē created this and came up with this. I was first. Nah, don't forget me. No, what I'm saying is, okay, I see y'all talking about it. Let's work together. Let's get loud, because you know what I'm saying? Several voices are definitely much louder than one or two every now and then. Let's all get together and become one big roar versus a meow from, you know, every other day you get a meow, when we can all come together and just be a big line. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. I look, I don't give a damn what y'all hijacking. You ain't gonna hijack this gentleman's work that he's been doing. If I can do anything with my platform, I'm going to make sure that at least my audience has been exposed to the work that you're doing, because I know what it feels like to be on the other side of things. I saw what happened with when I took my music down from streaming and I went direct to consumer. And first it was Curtis, you're an idiot. Yeah, what do you think you're doing? Yeah, you direct to consumer. Oh, it's never gonna happen. And then a few months later, almost every label is starting to institute this. Major label is trying to figure out how to go direct to consumer with their artists. Artists are having their websites with digital downloads. Even somebody that you talked about, Kanye West, has started to speak out about it. And it's one of those things where I know what it feels like when you start up a movement and it gets hijacked, and you're like, for me at least, I'm torn between, well, it's happening, which is what the purpose was, but also too, like, don't try to exit me out the conversation, because then you get people who got us into this situation to begin with to now establish the new values of it, and that's just not right. So I need to make sure that I use my platform for us to put that and amplify it.
Let me say thank you 100 times, because your platform was so illuminating to me that I like went crazy in your DMs, like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Yo, you gotta holler back at me because I'm the guy that blah, 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 until I got through to you. You know, the truth is the truth. I got at you in the DMs and the emails and whatever it took, because you highlighted the conversation and it went viral. That piece you posted went viral, but you did such an outstanding job, like, thank you, shining the light on that topic and that question and the purpose of it, that I said I want to get on that podcast and talk about it. I appreciate that. And once again, just putting my everything is branding now, right? Everything is about branding. Sure. So I want to make sure they see, the face. Make sure when you hear Olskool Ice-Grē, you can start connecting it to a face, because I spent the majority of my time in the music business as just a name or a name behind another name. And like you said earlier, it's the people they don't know that's dangerous. And really know how to move and shake and push the needle forward. You know what I'm saying? I know how to play team ball. You know what I'm saying? I know how to get small when I need to, and unfortunately, some of the positions I've been in, I had to be so small that it got uncomfortable. So now I had to step out, just like I'm stepping out about this ACH thing. I had to step out and forget about the giants who's speaking on it right now. My goal is, hey, Mr. Giant, Mrs. Giant, let's come together on this, because I've already done the hard lifting. And with your help, with your loud voice, with your iconic status, with your tenure in the game, put that with the work that was done, we can start reversing some decisions together, and I hope these individuals aren't afraid to share in this change. Because you know how it works, man. People always want to be the one and only and first to do it. I'm saying, let's do it together. Let's do it together. Yes, I was the first one. Yes. Yeah, but you're connected. You're connected to the grassroots part of this. Here's my thing too. I never forget, I read a book about leadership, and one of the first chapters they talked about, they did a social experiment between kindergartners versus Stanford grads, right? These are like the most elite students they have there. The goal was for that each group had to basically create a house out of popsicle sticks, and they gave them a set amount of time, right? The kids kicked their ass. The kindergartners kicked these Stanford, they're like engineering majors. You know why the kids won? Because the kids weren't in there arguing with each other about whose position is whose. You know what I mean? They were arguing. The Stanford kids were arguing, or the Stanford adults were saying, well, I think I should do this because I have a major in engineering. And so what I'm saying is, in the context of this conversation, you don't want folks getting up there just, like I said, just getting there posturing and trying to make sure that their branding is on it, make sure it's a part of their imprint. It's important that you're in there at the table, because the last time artists weren't at the table, we got this streaming situation. We got 0.3. So we need you in those rooms. And so if I could do anything, especially connect you with my network of folks, I think it would be awesome, man. If you had a conversation with my guy Justin Hunt from the company, man, I think you guys would have an awesome conversation. But I was gonna say, I have this video and I want to get your reaction to it, because the conversation, once again, that you have started is going crazy right now, and somebody tagged me in this. So let me go ahead and play this for you.
Need a contemporary adult hip hop category. A lot of people have been talking about this I don't even know who coined the term, but I feel like a lot of people have been talking about that. You don't think so?
Where's the adult contemporary pop category? Or where's adult contemporary fucking country category?
They exist. Off. Both of them exist.
Say it again.
Both of those exist. He must. Yeah, but go ahead. Both of those exist. But go ahead.
And he's in radio. He's in radio too. Like
AC has been attached to all of those categories already for years. But go ahead.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like.
But you think it's almost like insulting the fact that.
Yes. Like, why you keep trying to diversify our portfolio, bro? We straight over here. That, to me, is really inflammatory. Like, adult contemporary. Who said that?
I'm talking to the individual who created that, by the way.
Me? I said it.
Exactly. And we're gonna break all this down.
Hey, I don't know where it started. I heard like a few people.
This is why we're doing an interview. I don't know where it started. These are 3 journalists. I don't know where it started. It's not hard to find.
That's true.
You've been very loud about the conversation.
Do you remember? You. That's why I love how you get out. But that's where journalism was at one time. Remember, they wouldn't even speak until they had that
sources.
Yeah. Now it's just like it's social media or it's YouTube. Let's just talk before we even have the information. But go ahead.
Right, and especially Elliot. Elliot's a legend in the game. So when I saw that, I was kind of like. We
right.
But this once again, this opens up the opportunity for us to have a conversation and then bring this over to the forefront. So keep it going.
Well, Ninth is the first person to say it. So Ninth on here said this commented Pete Rock album begs the conversation I've been having with folks for at least 20 years now. Adult contemporary.
That's interesting. 20 years. You said 20 years.
Yeah.
Hip hop needs its own category.
I'm gonna fall back. Ninth is my guy. 2 people I don't argue with about culture is Ninth Wonder and Killer Mike. So I'm gonna fall back, but I just don't. But I disagree.
That's a good list.
What you mean?
Ninth Wonder, Killer Mike.
I don't argue with them about culture.
Have you done it in the past?
I have definitely. I'm cool. I don't want no smoke. But I'm.
So that was the conversation. He drew opposition to it for a few different reasons. What's your initial reaction to seeing that?
You know what? You notice the very thing is that's why it's great that you had already kind of asked me the question and you set it up before that got played, because the biggest piece about that was missing was he don't have enough information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just taking it upon himself being maybe just setting his ways, you know,
sure,
and just saying, I just don't want to see change. And let's be honest, Curtis, the biggest thing in life that seems to be the hardest thing for everybody is just change.
That's it.
You have some people that change is real easy for them. They take it with a, you know, real smooth, and they ebb and flow through change like whatever. But the majority of human beings, they find change hard, especially like, because I know who DJ Head is. I know his name. I know who, I know who, I don't know
I've known him for years. I've known this gentleman for years. So it's like,
I know who DJ
I say that
Head is.
I object to this respectfully, and I'm with you, but I had to make sure that I got it. Like it's important. Even Isaac Hayes, the third, says, no, we don't. Mike won 3 Grammy Awards up against 20 artists that were 20 years younger than him.
But listen, hold on. Before you say, sure. I know, Curtis. I already saw your face.
It's just I'm just like.
Do I even have to go on a long rant about that? He just said Michael Jackson.
No, he said Michael, the album Michael from
you talking about Michael
Killer Mike, Killer Mike, yeah, Killer Mike's
okay, so
album,
right, you talking about Killer Mike's record.
Right.
So the best, first of all, Killer Mike is an adult contemporary hip hop artist. Let's just put that out there first.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael, that album Michael, okay, Michael's like pretty much like swept the Grammys. It ended up getting, swept the indie space for rap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, he did. And I'm not taking any credit for him, because guess what? That was an amazing album. Killer Mike really put together some of his greatest. I mean, I think he would agree that Michael was a culmination of, like, he went somewhere and he put together his greatest works to date.
Right.
Deservedly got awarded at what's considered or looked at as the highest, award show, some will argue, and I wouldn't even argue with them, because I feel that you put importance where you want it to be. But in the spirit of just saying it won 3 Grammys, the reason it did is because he did what most wouldn't even care to do, because they already feel they're not going to get recognized. Mm-hmm. And that is, he submitted, he campaigned,
mm-hmm.
He did all of the behind.
He put $300,000, I think, up to $500,000 of his own money.
Yes, you see what? Okay, come on, talk to me. He submitted, he campaigned, he did all of the things that it took to be heard, and because that's most were probably just gave up. He was a dude that was like, nah, I feel like I made Grammy worthy work. I'm going to submit this. I'm a campaign. I'm a push. I'm going to do all of the things that need to be done and make sure y'all know about this record and it get recognized. And he pulled it off. So that was a win for ACH to me. Adult Contemporary Hip Hop actually won a Grammy, just not in the category that it could have won another. If he walked away with 3, if the Grammys, if the Recording Academy would have at the time expanded and had Adult Contemporary Hip Hop, he probably would have won 5 or 6.
That's probably why they put him in cuffs. They had to stop him from winning.
They had to stop him. Right.
They said, wait a minute, this is not a good standard.
No, that's what the cuffs were for. He had won too many times.
They said we got to balance this night out. Like we can't
going on, man?
We can't give adult hip hop all of this love. Wait a minute.
Right.
And I say that jokingly, but I remember being pissed off when I seen it. But then I also had the kind of the cynicism side of my brain say, of course they do that when adult hip hop wins like this. And some of the fight back that I saw, I saw it was interesting. One in particular was from Gilly the King. Obviously he has the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. And he was talking about specifically about how he was talking to French Montana. He was talking about how he was angered to see him in the same category as those younger artists, because he's like, man, you had your time. Now it's time for the young artists to come up and you taking a spot from there. Almost like there's not enough space for them to coexist. But then once again, I feel like that's only driving home your point even more, in that if you put them in their own category, there's why. To me, it goes back to the Willie Lynch letter and the things that I learned about the Willie Lynch letter of pitting the old versus the young. And I feel like as long as that narrative continues to go, it's easy for folks to divide amongst them, for our folks to divide amongst themselves, and we don't even need no extra help in that.
We gonna hang ourselves. We gonna kill ourselves. It don't take any cultures or ethnicities or anything outside of our own to kill us, because all you got to do is do it a certain way, and we're gonna kill each other for you. We'll take care of that for you,
man.
And just like Gilly the Kid, speaking on that, the reason that was I disagree with where he went with that is simply because think about where Gilly the Kid came from. Gilly the Kid was in the group Major Figures, right? And Major Figures, and actually right now will be looked at as an adult contemporary hip hop group. Now, because Gilly the Kid has found success in something else, he can comfortably say this thing. And one of the things I noticed, Curtis, and I want to speak to this.
Sure, please do.
And if I my goal or aim is never to offend, but if it comes off offensive, so be it. But my thing is, all of these individuals, like take a Gilly the Kid for example, take him and we'll say even Q-Tip, who I absolutely love, honor, and if it's a group outside of De La Soul that I can say Abstract Mindstate fits perfectly if it was a tour or a category like adult contemporary hip hop. We fit with Tribe Called Quest, we fit with Common, we fit with De La Soul, we fit with Slum Village, right? But Q-Tip, I saw a post from him against Knife Wonder saying, no, I think we should just, if you're gonna call it anything, just call it traditional. It's already traditional. Our point is to it's traditional in a sense, the whole boom bap, that it is traditional. That's what it is. That's what ACH does. It allows traditional to have room to breathe, and it gives it honestly a marketable acronym to be used in radio as well as these award shows by calling it ACH. That's marketing is very key in all of this. Nothing functions without marketing, like television, radio, everything has to have that. So I'm just saying it's a marketable acronym for it. And I disagree with those guys, because this is what I was going to say. I didn't even get to my point. My point is, when you're doing something else, when you're a guy that finally, like say, take a Joe Budden or somebody like that, I throw him in there too. He didn't do anything. I'm just using him. I'm saying these names as examples.
Sure.
They found something else that I guess fulfills them as much as when they were MCing, right?
So definitely pays them a whole lot more than when he was the MC. I said it definitely pays them a whole lot more than when they were MC too.
It pays them a whole lot more.
Yeah.
They're comfortable. So guess what happens? I'm glad you said that because I'm about to use that now. So now your financial because you're doing something you found that it pleases you as much as MCing, but it pays you more without all of the drama, heartache, label woes, and all the things you went through that made you stop. Because let's be honest, if these things wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have never stopped. Those people is fine. It's really easy for them to say, for them to be against change or expansion or find something wrong because they're honestly not living in that space anymore anyway.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's like me saying, oh man, how y'all gonna come up with one more color of paint? Don't we have enough colors of paint? I'm about sick of these colors of paint.
Right.
You know, why y'all making so many?
And it's like, are you a painter? Are you still a painter? Or are you?
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Now a painter comes in or a designer comes in like, whoa, hold
different
on,
context.
Olskool.
Yeah.
We like this shade. We need this shade of blue because we were missing it in the spectrum or what have you. You get what I'm saying? So it's like why would you want to stagnate evolution that already happened by making comments to not allow something progressive and inclusive and trick yourself into thinking it's exclusive or separating when it's actually allowing MC Light and Spice and Ice Spice to exist in the same room at the same award show in the same space. And then that day, that'll be the day that Ice Spice finds out that MC Light actually knows her song. And MC Light find out because she's talking to Ice Spice how to do something on the internet to push her a little further. Because she's not as in touch as her generation. Now they're sharing and it's a bridge built and this whole ageism thing disappears because we getting to take a little bit from each other because MC Light can tell her how to make herself last 30 years. She actually can speak on that because she's already done it. The only person that can do it are those people like her and LL and Latifah and all of them who then already put in a 10,000 hours and they've been around for 20, 30 years. They can tell you how to last that long. Ice Spice has no idea how to last past this summer. You get what I'm saying?
Well, here's the point that I think you're making, and it's the loud part that we about to speak about now, that I feel like it's the quiet part getting louder now, is that I feel like a lot of these circumstances are the way that they are because it's a lot easier to react. It's a lot easier to control younger minds. It's a lot easier to influence younger minds when there's not wiser minds that have gone through it. Something that I drew... I kind of had a conclusion about is that this is my opinion. I'm not putting this on anybody else. This is my opinion. But I truly feel like the industry makes a concerted effort to drain specifically black men, right? And black women, but black men specifically of all that energy that they would have in their 40s to go back and get their masters and everything that they let go for exchange for fame, right? For the deal. And I feel like there's so many folks who either don't make it to that age or by the time they get there, they have so little energy. All they have left to do is to do a podcast. And of course, the thing that's going to keep them from even going back is the fact that now you're getting $10 million checks for this podcast.
There you go.
So when I look at now, you got me thinking so much different about adult contemporary. One of the biggest, I think, oppositions that I heard was, well, if you call it adult, won't that cut out the kids who are making this kind of specific type of music, right? I thought about that. But then I also am thinking about, this is why wisdom is on your side and why I have to do more listening than trying to figure it out. I'm listening to you and I'm recognizing what you did is ensure that somebody, a reliable voice, a reliable mind is always in the room. If you do adult contemporary, even if somebody does adult contemporary as a younger artist, say the age is not a cutoff, but it's a more of a mature sound, you allow the opportunity for us not to get pushed away from each other. Use the example of Ice Spice and MC Light. If anything, I think that the suits want to keep them two away because you don't want Ice Spice to know that she could be getting more for this and that. You want her to be focused on the things that you tell her to focus on, right?
You feel me? There you go. I love where you going with that. And that's what I mean about it goes back to the original question and my original answer. The answer is information. you know, what's the biggest catapult in getting this thing across the finish line is information. Because the more I get to talk to guys like you, and the more podcasts I get to be on, and the more interviews I get to do, and write-ups, and people are talking more about it, it gets louder. We need to get loud. I'm trying to scream now. Excuse me, I'm screaming now. I'm not trying. I always have to check myself when I'm trying. I'm screaming now. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. So I'm screaming at Knife One, I'm screaming at MC Light, I'm screaming at Punch, I'm screaming at all these guys, not in a negative way. I'm screaming like, hey guys, I'm over here. I got like 3 or 4 seats open in this car. Come on, jump in, because it's a few more people we got to pick up. Because it's a guy named Twan Mack who's down with Arrested Development. He's like, I like to say he's the equivalent to how we've been rocking with Slum Village, because Slum Village has welcomed us into their family. We're considered like Slum Village family now, right? And we went on this tour, and we was the official opening act. They took us on a domestic tour of the West Coast as well. We don't even talk about that, but the point is, to Arrested Development, that's who Twan Mack is. Twan Mack has branded himself adult contemporary hip hop. Literally, I love it. He's like branded. He calls himself that. And I'm gonna tell you what makes Twan Mack so dope, Curtis. He didn't come at me sideways. He saw what I was doing and saw that what I did at this award show, and he was like, yo, get at me. I'm down. Like, let's work. And that attitude, that's what I'm looking for from the rest of the guys who have much, or have much more influence and a stronger, louder voice than ours. Because when you mesh together my idea, Twan Mack's idea, all of our idea that Twan Mack branded himself that, I went and did the work, solidified it, protected it, and did several other things, got it even added at an award show where it does exist. Now all we need is the endorsement, support, and the camaraderie of these facially recognized hip hop icons, legends, and veterans, and you know what I'm saying? Right. And we all come together, and man, it's no way that minds won't be changed. And I just feel that everywhere that they have a rap hip hop category, it should also be expanded to have an adult contemporary hip hop category. And I'm saying, like I was explaining on one podcast, I said I had 2 ideas for the Academy when I presented it. It could just be adult contemporary hip hop, and just we can build from there and grow later. But I actually have that breaks up into subcategories, kind of like an American Music Awards or whatever, where they have best adult contemporary hip hop single, best adult contemporary hip hop music video, best adult contemporary hip hop duo or group, best adult contemporary hip hop, album. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. Look,
so you imagine, Curtis, if we had all of that under that one new expanded subgenre, if we're gonna call it that, how much room and how much camaraderie, and they keep talking separation, and everybody's so afraid of the word adults. Why are we afraid of adult? Hip hop is just hit 50 and is just now becoming 21 years old. After 50 years, is just becoming an adult. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's okay to call a genre that finally made it to 21. And I'm calling it 21 because it's young. Hip hop is so young in comparison to all the other genres, right? It's the youngest one. It's like special ed, the youngest in charge. You know what I'm saying? It's the youngest one. So hip hop is 50 years old, but it finally can go in the bar and have a drink now. It's finally 21.
Right. No more excuses like we've been setting before. Like we're ready for this. No more excuses.
You are, guess what? You are, I'm about to say it, everybody close their ears. You are an adult now.
No. I don't want to hear it. No.
I don't want to be grown. I don't want to be grown. Because guess what? I feel like a kid, Curtis. I heard you say you was 39, about to be 40. I'm 52, about to be 53 on October 4th. Man. And I feel like I just got on the yard at Jackson State in 1989.
Let's go.
August of 89, I stepped on that yard at Jackson State University. I feel like that right now. Yeah. Because guess what? I'm actually putting out records. I'm actually going on tour. People know who I am. Right. Blah, blah, blah. I wished all of those things then. I'm living my 19, 20-year-old dreams right now. So adult contemporary hip hop, let's embrace it the same way I embraced old school being connected to Icegree. You know?
So So, man, first of all, we got to do a round of applause because you just, in this short period of time, you've been in here giving some gems that folks need to be exposed to. And I know my audience, man, one thing I love about this audience here is that they're deep thinkers. They can formulate their own opinions, even if they don't agree.
Right.
I'm seeing them right now. Like, some folks are kind of on the fence still about it. Some folks are kind of bothered by the name. And so I have one last question for you, but then I wanted to open it up to some Q&A if that's cool with you.
Yes, most definitely. Most
Okay.
definitely.
So-
And you know what? People can be on the fence because, like I said earlier, change is not an easy thing.
No,
you get what
it's
I'm
not.
saying?
It's
We
not.
don't even like to see our kids grow. Like, oh my God, my baby is not my baby no more.
Look, my son just started first grade last week.
Okay,
I'm
talk to me.
I'm watching him. You know, I went with my wife today to go take him to his class because you know, he's on a spectrum, so we got to give him a little bit more assistance than usual.
Okay, I understand.
But excuse me, we don't have to. We get to give him more assistance than usual.
There you go.
And so as he's going in the room, there's a part of me that's like, am I so wrong for recognizing I have to let him go? Like, I have to let, like, I don't have to let him go, but I have to let him go.
But yes,
And he has to go
yes.
experience these things on his own. So my last question for you is this. You know, obviously, we're going to do everything that we can to champion whatever you have coming up, whatever you have that, you know, any new milestones or anything that we can do in terms of signing petitions, whatever it is. I will absolutely be here as one of the media outlets that will help in sharing that. That being said, what can artists like myself, who I'm still semi-connected to a lot of younger artists, but I'm also obviously not a younger artist myself, at least in the scope of their world. At 39, you know what I'm saying? But I'm feeling like, you know, I keep saying it, you know, us 80s babies is different. Like, it's a lot of stuff we just not going to put up with. And one of them things is that you ain't finna age me out of something that I still love to do. And you're not about to convince me, especially as I'm watching LeBron James spend $2 million on his body every year so that he can get back out there and dunk the basketball and act like he's not approaching 40. So my question to you is this. For somebody like myself, what are things that I can do to further the conversation? Let's say Curtis King, the media outlet, didn't exist. What can someone like me, and I have a lot of artists in here that are my age, what can we do to kind of, I guess, champion what you've already been doing?
Man, I would say speak on it, bring it up, definitely talk about the people who are for it, you know, reference me and direct individuals towards me, and let it be known that you're part of the, or in that number that, like you just said, because one of my next phases is putting together a petition and start getting some, you know, signatures and get a mass email circulated, and just all who are down, you know, and be a part of that. When that piece comes along, be a one of the people that help, you know, push it and make sure it circulates to younger artists, as well as you know, I guess you could say in between, and even some that's considered more mature artists, help us get it to these people, so to support, we can show the institutions who are enjoying these call letters at the stations, and also enjoying rap / hip hop as a category in these award shows, but not fully representing it, you know, not or not fully. Let me change that and say, not that they're not represented, but they're not. That category has if anything has aged itself out, it's just the rap hip hop category. It needs a facelift, and a facelift would include expansion. That way, you know, we creating some sub genres, you know, to allow it to breathe a little bit better.
Sure. So I got a few questions here, and it's funny because one of them I actually shared the same question.
Okay.
Now I know we're signifying, or we're being specific about adult contemporary hip hop, right? But someone asked the question. Let me see if I can identify it. Basically, they said, you know, why couldn't it be a hip hop versus rap, since pretty much rap, which is one of the elements, of course, of hip hop, took over. How come it can't be the just taking back hip hop?
Exactly. And why couldn't it be separating rap from hip hop, and just one is rap, one is hip hop? And that's because we've carried it and when I say we've, I mean all parties involved, the powers that be, everything. They've carried this rap / hip hop as one thing for so long. Those like you and I, Curtis, we know that hip hop is actually the culture. Rap is the music that goes with the culture. Just like break is the dance that goes with the culture, and graffiti is the art that goes with the culture, and knowledge is, you know, the information that goes with the culture. So, you know, we know the pillars of hip hop, but when we just speak about the music, we generally start calling it rap hip hop, because hip hop at one point in time had so much separation. It was such a unique, different, on its own type of thing, that you was a rapper, but you would say, man, I'm hip hop, you know, and that was just to say your sound. See, now it goes back to what I'm standing on by calling this ACH, when I say it has nothing to do with age and everything to do with the sound. Reason we called ourselves hip hop is because we were talking about how our music sounds. You know what I'm saying? When they be like, no, I'm not a rapper, I'm hip hop. I know what you mean when you say that, because you're talking about the way your music sounds. It's not top 40. It's not your commercial getting played on the radio every day with this certain sound. It's grimy, you know, it's original, it's abstract, and no pun intended with, you know, saying that, but it's abstract. You may have infused it with another genre to create your own sound. And again, it goes back to the sound. So the reason I feel like it's kind of like a dead issue to try to, after all of this time that rap and hip hop has been together as one, like, because look at it in the categories, it's already rap / hip hop. So they done grouped it already. I'm saying change is already hard. Separating something that they've already had for so many years, that's even harder. So let that live and let's add on to it. It's kind of like saying, instead of trying to, you know, take the emblems and everything off this shirt, I'm just going to get another shirt with different. Right.
Let's start a new canvas, because they've already, the powers that be that have got it involved, in my opinion, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but they've tainted the product, and they have the money to continue to taint it, even as you know, the work is being put in that direction to cleanse it up. How about we have something that, first of all, by establishing who are going to be sort of the forefathers of this, who are going to be the ones that are the pillars of this early on, we can learn from the mistakes of what happened when we allowed them to kind of hijack one of those pillars and kind of, you know, bastardize it in mainstream. So no, I hear you.
And that's why I use the word protect when I say I've done the heavy lifting I've done the business of adult contemporary hip hop to protect it as well from, you know, that thing. Because it's like, if anybody should have the final word in something like that, it should be somebody of the culture. And I'd rather get with everybody else, like the MC Lights of the world and, you know, everybody else, and we sharing that together, than to let it, you know, let the powers that be get a hold to it and run with it, you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So. And there's a lot of things that have kind of like been bastardized. We were talking about this last night, and Afro Butterfly brought it up. One of my viewers here, she said, one of my moderators, she said, I want to differentiate skill sets as well. I need to see specialization criteria around freestyle, right?
Yes. Yeah. You know what? It's funny. I'm sorry for taking over.
No, you're good. You're good.
Freestyle. Okay. So it all, from what I remember, you know, and I'm sure a New Yorker probably can correct me on this, but I learned as I was growing in the culture, I started off as a freestyle battle artist. Me and my crew in college, we were called the Stoop Hot Stowaways, was consisted of a cat people know named David Banner and his partner Kamikaze. You know what I'm saying? We were the Stoop Hot Stowaways. It was 17 of us, but my point is, we were what we call real deal freestyle battle rappers. Like, it was off the top. We used to have people picking up things, and we incorporate that into the battle. And, you know,
now they slap freestyle on everything like it's GMOs.
Yeah. You had to come off the top like it's a artist that's hands down one of the best freestyle artists on the planet Earth. He's from Chicago. His name is Juice, J-U Ice. Juice is a legend on Sway's Sway's show. and Juice is unconscious with the freestyle. You know, I know about people like Supernatural. I know the guys.
I've seen him do it live a few times. I know Supernat, man.
Supernat and all of these, you know.
To have somebody who sits there and writes and then convince themselves that's in the same category as what Supernat does. I just I try not to be the old guy, you know, with my fist up at the people on my lawn, but I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, why even? I know it's almost like some artists are wearing the term freestyle like it's name brand clothing.
Yeah, that's not. I never liked. That's why I was going with it, Curse. I never liked that the way they loosely ran with that term, because freestyle does and always had a real meaning. It was supposed to be raps off the top of the dome, freestyle. That's why the style was free, because it was off the top. But then I learned, like I say, when I said a New Yorker would correct me, I learned as I got more in tune with New York hip hop, they had a term called freestyle along with the real freestyle that's off the dome. That just meant these are verses that's not connected to anything. They're not a part of a song. They're just some random verses that you could spit in a cipher, and they called those freestyle rhymes. Like it was just, I'm freestyling. This is not one of my songs I'm spitting. You will never hear this in any of my songs. It's just some hot verses I wrote for the moment like this. And I'm okay with those two, but they running with it a little crazy now, and I feel like she's right. She's right. It should be some differentiation in that. It should be. Freestyle shouldn't be so loosely, you know.
Well, and a step going in that direction has to be an appreciation for this. Is like I made the joke, the Uncle Ruckus type of joke in a video where I'm like, oh, just put it all in the same bucket. It's the same thing. And it's like, no. No, it's not. And in order for them to even acknowledge what you're proposing, they have to acknowledge that, oh, we might have got it wrong. And that's hard for some people who have already had something that, you know, like, if it's not broke, why fix it? But here's another question here that was asked by Kyle Fisher, and that's probably one of the last ones. Are we hoping for younger consumers to discover these ACH artists, or is it more so for the recognition and adornment of the established fan base?
I would say the first part of if his question is what ACH. Kyle Fisher is more about hoping that the youngest consumers discover ACH artists, because like I told you, ACH artists don't have an age. They have a certain sound that denotes the tradition of hip hop. It's traditional hip hop. So the more the younger audiences get in tune with ACH artists, I think I'm sure, I don't even say think, they'll have so much more respect, because they'll gain understanding, you know what I'm saying, from being exposed to it and realize like, oh, okay, you know, this is the sound that created the foundation of this thing. But they're hearing some of their own peers. Again, it's several younger artists that's doing it. Man, every artist in Griselda is ACH. You know, you know what I found hilarious? I saw something circulating around the internet the other day where I guess it's some kid named Ian and Tyler the Creator are going at it.
I reacted to that the other day. Yeah, I reacted to that.
I was checking that out. But let me say this: the part that I found the most hilarious about first of all, Tyler the Creator may be one of the most artistic and genuinely hip hop young dudes ever, and I call Tyler ACH. Everybody in his crew when he was running around with his crew, all of those guys are ACH, because regardless of how wild and funny they act, they kept their music very traditional boom bap hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And some got more creative than others, or took more abstract chances than others. But it was hip hop and ACH nonetheless. But it was funny. The funniest part to that whatever this is going on with those two, is they people in the comments was saying, well, Tyler old, you know, he he old now, he 30 and
Tyler's old now. God,
Tyler the Creator is old.
It's insane. That's insane.
That has to be the most insane conversation or comment I could have ever read. And there was a lot of them saying that, oh, he just saying that because he old. I'm like, wow, okay, so what's going on with some of these rap listeners? Do they feel like because Tyler has maybe gotten closer? Has it been 10 years for Tyler? Because he didn't put 10
Has
years.
Has to be. Yeah, heck yeah. 2014 has to be 10 years.
It's been 10 years. If since Tyler done reached his 10-year mark, he started so young. Tyler is still a young man, a very, very, very young man.
But you know what that is, and I think it's important to separate this. That's just young internet culture. That's not real life culture. Young internet culture is the same one that will sit up here and say, nobody could ever nobody has ever been greater than LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, or Michael Jordan. That's true. But it's the bias inherently within it because first of all, they wasn't around to see anything but highlights. And second of all, they don't understand how much the game and the nuance has shifted, the speed of the game, the access to sports therapy and things that would have extended a Michael Jordan's career. There's all these arguments, but somebody said, I was on Twitter the other day, he said, I can't wait 20 years from now to have to remind people how great LeBron James was when they tell me that he was mid at best. After everything he's accomplished, he said, I can't wait till 20 years. I'll be back here in the same Twitter account, and some young guy's going to be trying to convince me that LeBron was not that good. And I got to spank.
Right.
But that's just the way it goes. And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of that internet young culture finds its way to hip-hop conversations, mainstream rap conversations. And because of that, it's so unbalanced. It's so unbalanced.
So, look, if one of the worst things I think happened, because everything with the internet has become, or social media, not the internet, let me correct that. Everything with social media is a gift and a curse. There's this really, really positive side that brought forth things that couldn't never happen. And then it's this really crazy side. But one of the worst parts of the social media I just don't like is it gives everybody a voice. And I'm just gonna go on the record and say everybody doesn't deserve a voice in matters. I mean, it matters in opinions and all of that because they don't. Because you remember, take journalism for instance. Well, great journalism required years of studying the craft and knowing information, and like you were saying about earlier when the piece played, if they would have took a deep dive and found out a little bit more, they probably would have spoke about that information differently. But now everything is like in real time and for clickbait and all this different stuff. So one of the worst things that social media has done is just gave everybody a voice. And everybody, I'm sorry, people will be like, no, everyone deserves a voice. No, everybody doesn't deserve a voice or an opinion in specific things. Even hip hop culture, everybody shouldn't have a. You know what I'm saying? Everybody shouldn't have a voice.
I'll tell you this. I'm gonna say it because my platform. Respectfully, if you are the believer that everybody should have a voice, then I am a believer that I have the right to tell them to shut the fuck up. Because there's certain things that I hear, and I'm just like, shut up. Because my thing is this. I had to stop arguing with people on the internet because I recognized something. I was like, wait a minute. Who am I arguing with? You don't even have a photo up right now. So I can't even reference what your experience is in this thing that you seem to be so well versed in because you have the ability to articulate work. Everybody got Chat GPT now. So where you get your information from? What did you source? What beyond your information? Let's take the information to the side. What have you done to show me hands-on experience?
And that's what, yes. It's people, and even some of the people that oppose the idea of ACH, it's like, what have you contributed to the culture? What's your stance? What have you? That's where it stops. What have you contributed to the culture? Even if it's putting something in, and I say you have to. How much music have you put out there? How How many? Like you, I look at you, Curtis. Not only you are artist, you own a incredible podcast platform that's very well put together.
Thank you.
You also are like a dynamo or like a flag bearer in independency, and the way you specifically, when you went about it in a specific way, it got called, it got treated like an outcast or looked at as crazy until the times caught up with you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's funny because
being ahead of the curve is a crazy place. It's
a crazy place, but it's also something where it's like I I recognize, and I put up a post today on my Instagram. I said, God got people underestimate God's sense of humor, because I look at it and I'm like, all right, God, you keep showing me these people who are literally recycling my talking points verbatim.
Right.
And I'm completely out of the conversation. But then I look at it and I say, thank you, God, for having me so ahead of the conversations and for giving me that insight. And I'm grateful that I listen, because now when I'm looking at things that are happening, I'm just grateful that they're happening. I just got to keep staying ahead of the curve. And so I feel like that's where you and I have a lot in common. And that's why I had to have this conversation with you. I had to have this here, because the nature of what I do is very much about making sure we dig deeper than just the clickbait stuff. I don't like to just watch an Instagram clip and then say, look at this. Look at it. I want to make sure I get the full interview, get the full context, because something may have been taken out of context. I know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that. So the work that you're doing is so important. It gives artists like me, who I'm sure 10 years ago, I might have felt different about approaching 40. There's a lot of folks in the industry who would have been like, okay, what's your next plan?
Yeah,
what do you mean? What's the
next thing?
Do you ask the same thing of a blues musician? Do they ask the same thing of B.B. King? Do they ask the same thing of people who truly love their art form? And this art form is not one that is heavily reliant upon your physical. You have to be an athlete to make music, right? You have to have your mind about you and your skills developing.
Exercise your mind and your body constantly.
But they treat you as if like, you don't think I'm gonna still bar up if you give me that instrumental. What you think is about to happen? You think I'm about to sit here and do what I did 10 years ago? No.
Curtis, I put my money behind Black Thought against any of these.
Come on.
Like Black Thought will destroy any of these young. I'm talking about. I'm just going to say, without me knowing, every young rapper that exists is not any that exists that can handle Black Thought.
Come on, man. That's another level. I'm just another level. And I think this
and why should he quit? Because he's like, I don't know, 50 years old, 40-something, 50 years old. Like, no.
He's still at the top of his game.
He's too good to stop.
And on top of that, this is why, man, here, round of applause one more time. I got to do this. Because this is why the conversation is so important. If we do what we can to amplify this, not only are we reserving a space for our heroes, our seasoned veterans. I had this thought a few months ago, and it just felt like a premonition. It felt like a vision of, imagine 150 years from now, when people are studying our culture, right? They're studying what happened in this time period.
Right.
What literature is going to explain why the most wisest men and women amongst ourselves in this genre of hip hop, who used a medium called lyricism, a medium called freestyle, a medium called music, they waited until they got the wisest they ever were, right? They were hot-headed in their 20s. In their 30s, they kind of cooled off a little bit. In their 40s, when they found the ultimate level of wisdom for them, they stopped using that God-given talent, and they moved on to podcasting. Now, I had this vision, and I was like,
wow, that's powerful what you just said. Wow, that's
so,
man, you know what? I love that. Don't copyright it so I can use it.
Well, my thing is that I think
that was really dope though.
I was given that vision, and I keep sharing it because I'm like, how are we going to explain why the wisest of us decided to stop using this medium, right? Wow. Almost like when we talk about, back in slavery time, we're talking about Negro spirituals passing along message to one another in a way that those, they couldn't understand it. I'm looking at that through the music, and I'm like, the high level lyricism that I see, that you are part of, that the culture is a part of, that is the way that we communicate ideas that advance our way of thinking. And sometimes some people don't want to listen to a 3-hour podcast. Sometimes if you can fit that in a 3-minute song, that can be the thing that sparks somebody to go get therapy. Sparks the thing that sparks them to do something else.
Jolt. Yeah. That's that jolt or that hit that they needed to get them through.
That part.
Because how many times has a song gotten us through something?
Man. And the functionality of it, like I watch a TED Talk 1 or 2 times. I listen to a song 50 times if it's resonating with me at that point in time.
Right, exactly.
It's a mantras. They get repeated.
Exactly.
So
I want to build on something you were saying.
Yeah, please do.
I like where it was going. You said, first of all, that dream or something that came to you during meditation, whatever it was, that was so dope. because basically what I heard from it is saying what happened, a person who finally got to the most knowledgeable point in what it is they doing,
right?
That's when they say, I'm done.
I'm done. I have nothing else. I have no wisdom to bestow upon you now.
And it's like, no, at that point, you need to go harder than ever, which is why we have several what we call independent, some underground independent artists who are putting out music at a massive rate, because they finally reached a place where, like I even said, you can ask shout out to young RJ from Slum Village, who's producing our upcoming album. It's an ongoing joke with he and I, because I said, man, my pen is on fire right now. Like at 52 years old, my pen is hotter than it ever been.
Why do you think that is?
You know what I'm saying?
Why do you think that is?
I experience, a combination of experience and a little bit of what I heard LL talk about, and that's just like this fire to prove that it can be done now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like that, because MCing, you're an MC.
Absolutely.
MCing it's a little it's a little bit of that, whatever that made hip hop braggadocious, and it takes a little bit of ego and up for the challenge and all of that. That's still there when you're writing these raps and you putting together these songs. Man, you trying to like outright yourself,
right?
You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be against anybody. You trying to outright the last thing you said, or you know what I mean? You still
want to, like, this is a muscle you still want to work out. And it's not, and the unique thing about being a lyricist, an MC, is that you're pulling from so many resources, right? You're pulling from movies you've seen.
Right.
Even I heard Black Thought say it on the interview with Questlove. He was like, I love listening to NPR, conversations, or NPR, different type of content, because it's making me in my pen game approach things differently.
Exactly.
But see, this is also why I brought up that point earlier about why I feel like maybe that's why some of the powers that be, not all major labels, but some of the powers that be, do that on purpose. They amplify the conversation of old versus young. They embarrass artists on when they get to a certain age, and by the time that the public has turned on them, they have little fight left. First of all, physically, mentally, spiritually, to even get up, and second of all, the public won't. They feel like the public won't change their opinion about them because those who have money have changed the narrative around their name. Well, I'm saying, I feel like that's where I look to you, right? I look to, like I said, Young MC earlier. I look to the Commons. I look to the LL, and I'm like, y'all are gonna make every time another genre, every time another era comes, there comes another type of era, another type of OG. I feel like our generation is going to be another one, but I feel like every single time independently we're all helping to close that gap, so that separation shouldn't have happened to begin with. And I applaud you for what you're doing.
Man, thank you so much, man. I'm just trying to another thing, let me make this one point too, because it's young against young. I'm trying to also how I said, how I made the analogy of Ice Spice. I'm trying to allow room for Ice Spice and MC Light to be in the same room.
Yeah, they called it blasphemy in here. I got your point, but I understand they was in here. They were not liking that visual for whatever reason.
No, but I'm saying, when I say that visual, more than just the idea of just like taking Ice Spice as the character or whatever that she portrays through, her music or whatever. I'm saying this artist that's getting all of this attention, that's getting awarded, getting edified, blah, 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 while we still have a legend like MC Light in existence, currently making new music that's quality, killing it out here, sounding and looking. MC Light looks more amazing now than she did when she was a kid, right? So I'm saying, if they can coexist in the same space, we won't feel so, when I say we, I mean the lovers of that traditional hip hop sound. We won't feel so excluded watching these award shows saying, man, what about, because we can keep saying these different albums we listening to that's not even recognized by them. That's where ACH comes in. And what I wanted to do was compare young to young again. I was going to say, when like I'll use Punch as example of 310 Baby. If 310 Baby and JID can be in the same room, You get what I'm saying?
Jid, yeah.
It makes sense on the because they not letting JID get on that chart, or with 310 Baby, or some of these, I don't got to go through all their names, but the newer,
I get it.
ones
I get it.
That's popular. These new popular rappers, however they did what they did, I don't care. I'm not even here to bash them for that. I'm just saying, hey, I like, it's obviously millions of people that like what you made because you're making money, you're selling, your streams are crazy, okay, whatever. But it's still millions of us that like JID, and he's the same age as you. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's the same age as you. It's no room for him because guess what, Curtis? He has a more traditional sound to his music.
And you know what? This is why, like I said, I want to continue to champion this conversation. Any content I see, I'm going to react to it because I look at this and I'm like, even if folks don't understand all of the things as they're getting their information, just understand this. As somebody firsthand at 39, there is a lot of mental games that this game alone will play with you. There's a lot of mental games family members will play with you. Hey, you're getting up there. What you getting ready to get to next? And it's like, this is what I'm put here to do. This is my purpose. I have no
this
denial.
This is what I'm getting to.
But this category, even just following this idea, it allows people in this age group, in our age group, to say, I have something new to aspire to fight for, when the music is not enough. And I know some people will get on their head and be like, well, the music should be enough. It should always be enough. And it's like, no, you got to understand that these things exist because some people use it as kind of their North Star. And then by the time they get it, they recognize it was never about the trophy. It was never about the thing. It was about the who they became in the process, the pursuit of it. And I can imagine a lot of, like, I'm seeing it right now from my own era. And it's like, I need to figure out a way to cover this because there are artists that I haven't heard from in 5 years that stopped rapping. Like multiple. I'm talking about 10 to 12 of part of my age group, 38, 39, that are starting to pick the mic up again. And I'm like, I'm sure there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. This battle might have been one. Also, just the opportunity of social media and what it presents. But I look at that and I know something is happening. And I have to make sure that we give you your utmost respect because you're leading the charge that's going to affect when I eventually get to that stage in life, and it'll be a lot easier because of the work that you're doing today. So I thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, any final thoughts that you got for the people before we go ahead and wrap this up?
Man, just all those who, like I say, everybody is not gonna love the same thing at the same time, but in the end, the benefit always shows and proves when the intentions are pure and good. And my intentions, I just wanted to be known that my intentions as a contributor to the hip hop culture are totally 100% pure. Yeah. They're good. They're very ethical, and they're without any malice. And I'm not here to badmouth anybody. I just want to galvanize first. I want to excite and then unify all like minds, established, iconic, on the way up, in between, thinking about it, and get us together, man. And like you say, Curtis, go to the next level with this thing. So I do have phases of this. My phase right now, I'm in my PR phase right now of adult contemporary hip hop. First, I'm just trying to get the word out because there's still so many that never even heard the idea. And I know galvanizing and uniting will be even easier the more ears that get on this and hear this idea. I'm sure it's millions more that support, and then we can get to that next level of whether it's petition or resubmitting, you know what I mean? But it should be done as a united front.
Resubmitting this time with the heavy hitters that you got involved. That's why I want to make sure this conversation is here, because at some point I know these folks be watching my content.
And that's a goal to resubmit, Curtis. That's a goal.
Oh man, please. For whatever I can bring to a room like that, you let me know. I'm there. I am there to present with you, whatever the case. I'm not trying to include myself. I'm just saying if there's any kind of value that I can bring into that conversation, I'm here.
Please include yourself.
My thing is, like I said, I'm very, very sensitive about hijacking someone else's movement and making it, but it's not about me. I look at this and I'm like, this is even beyond my era, because we'll just be the first one to get to enjoy the fruits of it.
Right,
the 2 eras after this is going to be the ones who are going to like, this is the norm. They're going to take it for granted.
Exactly. And no, you're right. You're so right. And I you know, and all I want to do, what would be the cherry on top for me is that wink of an eye, or that salute and that point to let her know we see you old school. You know, we appreciate the groundwork you laid to, like you said, for 10 years from now to make this the norm. You know what I mean?
Man.
And that's it. I contributed to the culture, man. If I can contribute to this culture that I gave so much of my life to, that I was dedicated to, even when I didn't want to be, I was just so in love with it, man. If I can just contribute to this culture, it just make me feel, you know, that's the selfish part of it. I would feel so fulfilled contributing something significant to the culture. That's even my selfish thing is unselfish, because it's not even for me, it's for, you know, what's to come. You get what I'm saying?
But see, that's
it'll fulfill me so much.
It always reminds me, man. I've gone to a few different Tony Robbins events, and one of the things that I never forget is when he talks about the 6 human needs that we have, and they're separated between 2 categories. We have primal needs and we have spiritual needs.
Right.
You can have 3 primal needs, and whatever those 3 primal needs are that you get, it will birth an addiction. Right. These needs are this. The primal needs are the need for what is it called? It is the need for
I'm terrible because I went to
goodness, my brain just did that. No, my brain wants some water. That's all that is. Let me pull this up. So basically, a need for variety, surprise, a need for predictability. There's a different words, but that's the idea. There's a need for love and connection. There's a need for significance. Now, you can have a drug addiction off of 3 of those, because they're missing 2 other ones, which are the spiritual needs, which are growth and contribution. Boom. So when you find a way to wrap growth or contribution with significance, that explains the work that you're doing right now, and that you're linking that together. And there's nothing wrong with it having a selfish, you know, some part of it being, I want the significance of knowing that I was the one that brought this to the forefront. That's human nature. It's just a matter of when you link really the wrong ones. Yeah, and also too, there's the so it's certainty and uncertainty, right?
Okay. Right.
The uncertainty of, will this work, is a part of the reason why this drives it. But then when you see all these different platforms, I saw, you know, Poe Politicking. That's my guy from years and years ago.
Shout out to Poe Politicking. Yes.
When I see you going through this, like right now, this is building up that value, but you're seeing the growth. You're seeing the conversation grow. So this is very, very important. I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, I'm glad that you chose to stop by here. We are honored to have you here, man. One more time, we got Olskool Ice-Grē doing the Lord's work right now, man. We need you out here. We need you.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm definitely doing it.
And so I got all the information here in the description. I like to end this off always. What is something that you're excited about? What's coming up next for you?
I'm very excited about going to Detroit and putting the final touches on this new album, the Abstract Mindstate album called The Art Project. Right. We have a single out right now called True Story. There's another single that kind of, we had some problems with it, but if you got it, you got it. It was called Church Shoes. Mm-hmm. And those records are out there. Church Shoes Part 1, because it's going to be a Part 2. I'm just going to put that out there. It's going to be a Church Shoes Part 2, because Part 1, you know, we had some issues and, you know, it had to get pulled back. So those who got it. But I'm really looking forward, Curtis, to putting the final touches on the new album, The Art Project. And the greatest thing I'm looking forward to is getting back out on that road, man.
Come on, man.
Getting back out to Europe. Let me tell you something. Here's another milestone and another thing that was fulfilling, and in the spirit of, like LL was saying, you know, about just showing it can be done. Man, I wouldn't have never put this on myself at the time. It would have seemed negative to say, man, I probably won't get to do this till I'm 52. Man, to be able to tour at 52 years old, doing the music that I love, my own music, down audiences, 2 and 3 times my age, and they running up to me saying, "Man, you are our new favorite. Y'all Abstract Mindstate, you and your girl, y'all our favorite new group. We didn't even know who y'all were,
Right?
But we love y'all, and we check this out." And they turn their phone around, and they be like, "Look, we downloaded the album." You know what I'm saying?
Come on, but see that right there, you giving somebody hope, man. You giving somebody excitement because, you know, what if you as an artist coming up, right? Because obviously your story is a lot different because you already were solidified from where you're from and you're already legendary, part of Abstract Mindstate. But for somebody out here who's like, man, I feel like locally they're not messing. I feel like the States right now, the timing is just not right. We've seen movies like this, right? We've seen like the Billie Holiday movies. We've seen it where, you know, going over to overseas was the appropriate thing to do at the time. I think we're in a time now where, you know, it's society, it's culture that is clashing in a lot of ways. Politics are clashing. It may not be the proper place right now that you should be focused on, but there could be these other places out here where you end up finding your tribe. I saw a documentary and I'll never forget it, man. It was called A Search for Sugar Man. You ever heard of that?
No, A Search for Sugar Man, but I'm going to look it up.
Please
now.
watch that. So A Search for Sugar Man.
Tell me, what was the premise?
The premise of it is this, and you know, and I'll kind of give it away a little bit, but basically there was an artist, he made a song, Sugar Man. Dun, dun. He made that song, and at the same time he had a deal, but there was a much bigger artist that took off, a legendary artist that took off. I don't want to take it off to who it was.
Blues? Because that sounded like a blues song. Was it blues?
Kind of, but it was just kind of like that Eric Clapton type of, Eric Clapton type. I think it was from Detroit actually. So,
it's from Detroit.
Yeah. So he had his career. It didn't go according to plan. Matter of fact, he stopped making music for mainstream audiences, and he made these records. He had no idea that his records had found its way to I forget what specific part of Africa. Got to Africa during the time where he was struggling with his label. This album, this vinyl, was getting circulated around vinyl stores out there, and it was this theme song to a revolution out there. He had no idea. We're not talking about the age we're in now. Wow. So years passed by, and these documentarians were like looking for him. That's why it's called Search for Sugar Man.
Right.
And they find him, and they're like, I don't think you understand how big of a deal you are. I want to say in South Africa, how big of a deal you are. And he's like, at this time, he's a bit older. And he's like, all right, let's see. And they fly him out there. Man, he's driving in his limo. And he looks up, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, but there's literal like billboards like you have in L.A. where it's his face on it. He's like, is that my face up there? He goes to a stadium. I kid you not. He goes to a stadium, and it's sold out for him because he's never performed his songs, and his generations who came up on it, he had no idea. And he's performing, and they know all the words to his songs. It was such an inspiring story because so many people give up when they're 3 feet from gold, and maybe it may not pan out like that. That's a rare story, but the idea that there is, once again, as Afro Butterfly said, there's a tribe out there that needs you. It's just up to you to continue to produce and do what you can to attract them and find them. But man, you got to watch that documentary. It's one of my favorites. I got to watch it again.
Look, I'm literally, when we get off of here, I'm literally going to try to check it out. I'm inspired right now.
Fly Science said it's shout out Fly Science said it's Searching for Sugar Man, and it's available on YouTube and Apple TV. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, sweet. Thank you, Fly Science. Shout out to Fly Science. Thank you for the info. See, information is key. That's what we're talking about. Information is all about the information.
And you bless us with a whole lot of that, man. One more time, round of applause for Olskool Ice-Grē. Man, what an absolute honor and pleasure to have you here. So, check it out. Come on. DIYers, I appreciate y'all. Oh, there it is. DIYers, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank y'all for joining me last minute for this conversation. You already know what it is. I'll leave this up here. Eventually, give your man some time. I'll go time stamping things so you guys can go back through it. But nonetheless, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. I greatly, greatly appreciate every single one of you. I'll talk